Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream. It is Tuesday, August 14th, 2020. And I know what you're saying. Usually it's Friday, actually. Sheila, how did I make a mistake? You know what? I'm being distracted. Yankee is in the control room. He's got a camera out. I think he's filming me now. I understand you were a little disloyal to me in our co-hosting on Wednesday. You had a show with Yankee. I heard it was unforgettable. But in any event, usually it is Ezra Levent that is in this seat. And Ezra is off on assignment. So normally Sheila and I, we are broadcasting every Tuesday and Thursday. But for the whole week, we've had rotating hosts with varying degrees of success. And what I should do now is throw this over to Sheila Gunn, Reid, the she-devil herself, so that she can explain what it is that we're attempting to do here.
What are we attempting to do here? That really is the question. Yes. I did have a different co-host than you, David. However, nobody quite has the chemistry that you and I do. And it's nobody's fault. There's something about you and I, we click. We click, and we've always clicked. What are we doing? Well, this is generally Ezra's show, especially on Friday. This is the big show. This is the flagship show. Yeah. So during the pandemic, all the other news agencies cut back their coverage. And we decided there's more news than ever. Let's ramp it up. So we took the Friday live stream, used to be called Battleground. I guess this one is still called Battleground. And we expanded it to every single day of the week, noon in Ontario and 10 a.m. for me here. And it's our chance, David and I, to visit with each other and talk about the news of the week, which is fun because I don't know if you know, but we're also friends in real life. And it gives you a chance. I couldn't
ask for a better friend, a better colleague. I mean that 100%.
David.
Folks, to meet Sheila is the lover. Well, of course, there's always the exception to the rule, like that little weasel, Dion Buse, who actually had the temerity to punch Sheila at a Women's Day rally, if you can imagine. So there's always the statistical anomaly, isn't there, Sheila? Because I think anyone that's ever come across you, even a rival media person, they've got to like you deep down. They must like you.
I do go out of my way to be nice to them just to creep them out and make them feel a little bit bad for hating me online. But right now, our viewers have the chance to interact with each other in the live chat that's happening on the side of the screen, depending on how your screen is set up. But it also gives our viewers a chance to support the work that we do through something called a super chat. And you can throw however much you want in there, and depending on how much you give, you'll get more characters. And I got to tell you right off the hop, before we were even on air, one of our most loyal live stream viewers, our most frequent live stream donors, kicked our Friday off right with a $100 super chat before they even know what we were going to talk about, before you and I had an opportunity to screw up the live stream. Abu Baker Al Puff Daddy, regular donor, regular super chatter, and just generally all around active fellow in the live stream every single day, just about, gave us $100. And
Holy
Abu Baker,
now, $100.
$100. Isn't that amazing? So generous. Thank you, Abu Baker Al Puff Daddy, if that's even your real name. He says, TGIF Menzoid and Gunny. Yeah, we needed that reminder that it was actually Friday. I don't understand law enforcement. We conservatives support our police, yet they pick on us with masks, social distancing fines, and DUI stops on teens driving tractors at midday. But they ignore jihad, Antifa and weirdos like Yaniv. What gives?
I'll tell you what gives. I think I speak for Sheila, folks, when I say all of us here at Rebel, we're pro-police. Having said that, there is always bad apples in every bunch. I'm not just talking police. I'm talking doctors, lawyers, journalists. And so you can't have a blanket position that every cop is wonderful and obeying the laws. I had a horrible incident one day, maybe we'll get that video to air, of me getting beaten up and pepper sprayed by, well, kind of a fake cop, not a real police officer, but that's a story for a different time. But the other part of the equation, Sheila, I think, is right now, given the political climate post George Floyd, there are certain identity groups that police, either for self-preservation, because they know this is a no-win situation no matter how this goes down, or it's a matter of their higher-ups or superiors, including the mayor, saying, if you see any crime being committed by these certain racialized groups, these certain sexual orientation groups, whatever it is, please turn the blind eye if it isn't, too violent. So the idea, Sheila, the iconic Lady Justice with the scales, and she's got a blindfold around her eyes. Right now, Lady Justice is wearing a pair of X-ray glasses, I would say, right? There is a double standard, and it's all due to political correctness.
Right. I think I probably speak for the whole company when I say we are pro-police. For me, I don't like their bosses. And there's a huge disconnect between the boots on the ground cops and their political bosses who have political aspirations and they're playing the political game. You'll often see a difference of opinion on any number of things, from community policing to gun rights to anything, between the commissioner or the chief of police, at least in Canada, versus the boots on the ground cops, who are generally just normal guys playing hockey, going to the gun range like everybody else in their communities. And they got into policing because they believe in law and order and keeping their community safe. And they do leave their families behind every day to go do a dangerous job in a dangerous place. And they're under extreme scrutiny from these left-wing groups. But boy, oh boy, there's a weird emphasis on what kinds of crimes get police attention these days and which ones don't. And I think my story on people versus predators, which I hope we do get time to later on, really
we'll get to that for sure.
It really speaks to that because when we get to that, I have a little story about what happened to 3 cops who supported the work that they do, that they sort of told me that didn't get included in the story, but I will include it in another story just so people get the opportunity to see it. But 3 cops who supported them, it didn't work out well. And you'd think that this community group that is doing the work that it seems as though the justice system doesn't want to do, or the legal system, I don't want to call it a justice system, it doesn't want to do, and that the cops really want the judges to keep predators behind bars because they don't want to keep arresting them. And when, you would think the cops would be on the side of the people trying to fill in the gap, and when they are, they face serious ramifications.
And Sheila, if I can interrupt, I don't get this dynamic of, you would think there should be universal disgust and disdain for predators, child predators. I don't understand where as I said before, there was a political correctness element driving some things. Who thinks that child predators should be treated with a different standard? Actually, I think they should be treated with a different standard. I think it should be calling all cars, get this creep off the streets and put him in solitary for the rest of his life, quite frankly. So can you explain the dynamic to me that's going on here?
I think that, and again, I know we want to get to Patrick Brown first, but I will say that I think there are forces afoot in the legal system who don't like the idea of citizen participation in it. You've got, the Crown, you've got the offender. Sometimes the victim is included in all of this, but the community is completely left out of the equation. They don't really have a voice in the legal system, and that's what People versus Predators, that's what they're trying to do. And I think there are people in the legal system who sort of resent the fact that they are pointing out the flaws, because if you point out the flaws, then the next question is, well, why haven't you fixed them? And if you haven't fixed them, then that's on you.
And Sheila, sometimes we even pay the predators. I will never forget how back in the 1980s, Clifford Olson, you may recall that he was cut a check for $100,000 to identify the 11 grave sites where, and I guess the check technically went to his wife, but it was to point out the grave sites where he had disposed of his child victims. And I will never, ever forget the most disgusting quote ever uttered, I think, by a felon, which was Clifford Olson saying, because there was 11 kids and he got $100,000, he said, yeah, I got $10,000 per corpse and I threw in one on the house. And I mean, this guy, basically, from what I understand, he had a very comfortable life in his jail cell. He was also allowed, and he took advantage of this, to write letters to the family of his victims, mocking them. He was like psychologically torturing them from behind bars. I would argue this, I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, surely the vast majority of people, and I'm talking over 99 percentile here, think that this kind of garbage should not be allowed or tolerated.
Well, let's just stop for a second to acknowledge the fact that Clifford Olson's wife took receipt of that check and put it in her bank account, so that, you know, she could live a comfortable rest of her life. So, I mean, there's a lot of evil people along the way in the Clifford Olson story. However, let's get to a couple of these super chats, and then we'll get to Patrick Brown, latest from Patrick Brown. It never ends with that guy. It just never ends. He's truly the gift that keeps on giving. And once again, Abu Baker Al Puff Daddy, thank you very much for your generous super chat. The Great Informer gives us $5. Justin Trudeau hires a photographer to manage his selfies. Yeah, I know you meant that as a joke, but it's absolutely true. His photographer's name is Adam Scotty, and I think he makes six figures to follow Justin Trudeau around and take pictures of him as he pretends to work.
Who's paying for that? I don't mean to be rude. Yeah.
All of us. All of us. Well, the whole thing is an operation of vanity. It's very ridiculous. Kane Enmark gives us $2, says, David, I am in love with the Patrick Brown videos. Aren't we all? Aren't we all? Great Informer, again, gives us $2, says, Trudeau goes to Disney World with a mousetrap. Ha, 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 ha. Unknown User gives us $2.79. Thanks for the real news. Tired of the left lies. Great Informer again gives us $2. You know what? I'll take your money all day long if you want to tell jokes. That's fine. It stops David from telling them, so great. Great Informer gives us $2. Trudeau throws a birthday party out the window. Very good. Mike Mayer, I hope I'm saying that right, Mike, gives us $20 and says, Sheila, on behalf of myself, Sherry, and the entire team, this is the People versus Predators team. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate this. Thank you so much for the exposure and telling the other side of the story. Keep fighting the good fight. People versus Predators, PvP. Yeah. All I did was do a story on the work that you guys are doing. You guys are doing the hard work. I know that you've got some protests and vigils and work with the victims planned over the weekend. I'll try to make it out to some of those, just again, to tell the other side of the story. You guys are being painted as vigilantes. You're anything but. You're using the legal system to keep these guys in jail, when this is work that the Crown prosecutors really should be doing. Vito Anthony D gives us $5. Wow, Patrick Brown, as Joe Bowen would call him, really massaging the Islamic vote right off the hop, eh? You meanie Islamophobes. I don't know. Raheel Raza works for us. I tend to think that Raheel probably wouldn't work for a bunch of raging Islamophobes, but, you know, whatever. Facts be damned.
Yeah. How does playing hockey involve Islamophobia? But we will get to that later.
This guy. Anyway, I do want to get to all these super chats, and I want to thank everybody for these super chats, because when we play that People versus Predators clip that hopefully we'll get to in a bit, this video will probably be immediately demonetized on YouTube, because you can't talk about child sex offenders and make money off the video, which I suppose is fair enough. It stops the predators and the sex molesters from making money. However, it demonetizes the work that we do, and we're trying to tell the other side of the story. And it's anyways, all these super chats are going to help, because this video, after we're done, it's not going to make any more money for the company.
And Sheila, as a point of clarification, because I see we have our sci-fi fan, young Deborah Harry, in the control room. Just to be clear, Sheila's video, People versus Predators, that is not the sequel to Alien versus Predator. Anyway, continue.
Great. Travis H gives us $5. Thanks to Rebel for helping to save the mural in Calgary. Yeah, Kian did great work on that. He shone a light on that immediately. I'm glad the mural saved, because poor Kian, there was really nothing there that he could chain himself to save the mural. But you can see his video. I believe it's at savethemural.com.
Yeah.
Great Informer, $5. The Rebel remains awesome while CNN's Don Lemon and Justin Trudeau get chocolate milk from the back end of a cow. Okay. Great Informer.
What are you saying?
I'm not saying anything. Great Informer gives us $5. Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden look for Cabbage Patch Kids in a garden.
Oh,
Amira Hollins gives us $10. And I don't see a super chat, but Amira, that's very generous. Thank you very much. David Anderson gives us $2. I'm late. Is the Rebel allowed into the Alberta legislature yet? Well, I think we're allowed anywhere.
Yep.
Since Canada still has a free press, even in the Alberta legislature, and Rachel Notley and her goons are not in charge anymore anyway. And even when they were, there was a report done by Heather Boyd, who incidentally then went on to work for Rachel Notley. So, that said that the government has no place deciding who is and isn't a journalist. And the National Post has, or rather Post Media. So that would be the National Post, the Calgary Herald, the Edmonton Journal, the Calgary Sun, and the Edmonton Sun, after their Alberta-based reporter, who happened to be the head of the Alberta Legislature Press Gallery, Tyler Dawson, convened a meeting to make sure that Kian and I had a secret witch trial, and they all voted to keep us out. They've now withdrawn all their reporters from the Legislature Press Gallery until the Press Gallery fixes their own problems, which I think is ironic, because the National Post, they created this problem. So now they're pretending to be self-righteous by withdrawing their journalists from the Press Gallery and saying, we're not going to do anything, or we're not going to have anything to do with this organization until it's fixed. You guys broke the organization. How did you leave that out of your article? But anyway, it's on the National Post. It was on their online edition. I think it'll be published today or tomorrow. But yeah, it's really something else. They go on to list. This article is really ridiculous, because they go on to say, we believe in the free press, but the Rebel is this, all these bad things. And then they say, and their attacks on other journalists are dangerous. And it's like, 90% of this paragraph is attacking me, but that's not dangerous. And when I say you guys suck and you should let me do my job, then that's a dangerous attack. And they wrote this lengthy editorial piece about why they're withdrawing their journalists, while neglecting to say that it was their journalist who caused the problem in the first place.
And Sheila, such entitlement, such self-importance. Tyler Dawson, you mentioned that guy's name. This is the fellow, correct me if I'm wrong, his views get, 8 views, his videos rather, they get 8 views. Sometimes it's 25 views. That's a blockbuster for Tyler Dawson. Ooh, we broke 25 views. Some of our views here at Rebel News go over 1 million. It is just incredible. Who do they think they're broadcasting to? Who do they think their reach is? And by the way, I'll just tease something to our audience. I believe Ezra on this very topic has an email going out to Rebel News fans later today even, that's going to explain everything about this dispute Sheila was talking about, and about, well, quite frankly, another victory for Rebel News. Continue, Sheila.
Yeah. But if you do get a chance to read that article in the National Post online edition, boy, sour grapes. Sour grapes. Let's keep going. Kurt Koenig gives us $5. My movie Ron Glenn on. It's 2:10. You won't forget. Sorry, Kurt. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm very sorry. Great Informer, Joe Biden of $5 watches time fly at an airport. Rosie O'Donnell uses cheat codes for a Wii Fit. Justin Trudeau plays video games with the TV turned off. I think that's actually the only good thing. Like, the only thing he's good at is playing video games. Getting high, sitting in his underpants, and playing video games. He's absolutely done no work this year. I think actually True North, they went through and they counted up the number of personal days he's taken, and it's like up over 20% this year. So,
well, Sheila,
like,
all I can say...
Takes a day off every week. Every week.
The only video game joke I know is what the difference is between Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man, and I dare not say the punchline because I'd be fired. Anyway, shall we move on to...
We've been warned of those kind of jokes, so let's just
I think
going.
I told you the joke in Israel a couple of years ago, so already Justin's getting nervous. So I think, shall we... is that all the Super Chats for now, Sheila?
I'm all caught up now.
Okay, let's move on to Hockey Night in Brampton, Part 2. You know what? They don't call Patrick Brown Sneaky Patrick for nothing, because what he did, and I guess you can do this as the mayor, he put the ice rental an hour back. So instead of getting on the ice at 5, they were already on the ice at 4, or perhaps even earlier, who knows. You know, it's funny, primetime ice is usually very hard to get. The idea of switching on the fly, like you're doing a line change in hockey, it's usually really difficult. But I guess when you're the mayor, I guess anything goes, doesn't it? Now, we're going to get to that footage right now. What we're doing is just seeing if there's any other players to come off the ice. I don't think there is. If you look over there, Brampton security guards, allegedly they've called the police because astute viewers might recall we received trespass notices, not just me, but every member of Rebel News. Good luck arguing that in front of a judge. We're supposedly banned from all Brampton recreational facilities, including apparently a parking lot of a hockey rink for an entire year. And technically I'm in violation of that ban. So well, I guess, hey, calling all cars, they're practicing journalism again here in Brampton. Oh yeah, that's the guy that carried his equipment. Patrick, you said you were here to inspect the facility last week. Did it pass your inspection?
So you came the wrong time. I love playing hockey. It's a great sport. What I don't like is Islamophobia or not being fair to the beautiful mosaic we have in Canada.
Oh, what did I say was that was Islamophobic, Patrick?
I think the reason. Well, you were mocking my friend Reid Solomon last week, which is not.
How did I mock him?
So my advice to you is love Canada. Be nice to everyone, okay?
I love Canada, Mr. Brown, but how did I mock Reid Solomon? Why did you say that we were with Maple Leafs TV?
You know what? Be a lover, not a hater. Okay. You snuck in last week, and that's not appropriate.
Okay. Why did you say I was with Maple Leafs TV?
I have to congratulate Doug Ford. I thought it was beautiful when he kicked you out of his events.
What event was that? That's another falsehood.
Thank you.
That's another falsehood. Mr. Brown, what event were we kicked out of? Wow. You know, we don't have the website Sneaky Patrick for nothing, folks, because what you just saw was Patrick Brown backed up his hockey playing hour from, I guess, 5 to 6 till 4 to 5, but you can do that. Now, you saw, I asked him point blank, why did he say I was with Maple Leafs TV? That's an absolute bold-faced lie, and it's actually borders on defamation, I think, because I did not lie about my bona fides. And then he went into the ad hominem attacks. He called me an Islamophobe, and the basis for me being an Islamophobe was I asked if his friend, Reid Solomon, was paying for the rink. Now, how does that make me Islamophobic? the fact that I'm asking if his friend, who happens to be a Muslim, and then of course he also said on News Talk 1010 that we support the KKK and that we are homophobic. What evidence does Patrick Brown have to support those allegations? Well, yeah, we support the KKK. I don't even eat Special K, Sheila, but there are so many lies there, folks. I'll just very quickly, as fast as I can, Sheila, point out some of the whoppers, and then I'll hand it over to you for your comments. First of all, let's address the Islamophobia. I asked him on our original visit last week, who's paying for this rink? Is it you? Is it the city? Is it your buddies? Is it your friend Waleed Solomon? Now, the fact that, and I mentioned Waleed Solomon because Waleed Solomon is a very rich and successful person. He did incredible work fundraising for the PC party years ago, brought them out of the red and into the black. And he's a very good friend of Patrick Brown. The fact that Waleed Solomon is a Muslim, he could have been a Scientologist. He could have been a Pastafarian. It is completely irrelevant. The other thing, that ad hominem attack doesn't stick. The other thing, and I think this is what's going to get Patrick Brown into trouble in terms of defamation. You saw in his tweet, he wrote that I claim to be with Maple Leafs TV. That's very significant, Maple Leafs TV. And I'll tell you why, Sheila. First of all, if you look at the video, you see from the get-go, I say who I am and who I'm representing. Furthermore, Maple Leafs TV doesn't exist. It's never existed. There is a TV for the station for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It used to be called Leafs TV. It's now called Leafs Nation Network. Never in my life have I, or as far as I know, anyone else referred to a non-existent network as Maple Leafs TV. See, he screwed up the name of the network, which proves that it's a lie, because if I were to claim I was with Leafs TV or Leafs Nation Network, that's what I would have said. Those things exist or have existed. There's never been any such thing as Maple Leafs TV. The hockey bag that was there with his name and number, 00 sports fans, for those paying close attention. And no, you couldn't write this. And by the way, why is a forward wearing a number that I've only ever seen a goalie wear? I mean, makes no sense, 00. But he said to the website, The Pointer, that the reason that bag was there with his name on it is he gets all kinds of hockey bags, Sheila. And obviously what happened is he gave this bag to a friend to use. That's why it was there during his rink inspection. Now, here's the thing. Let's take him at his word, Sheila. He gave that bag, he forgot to take his name tag off it, to a friend. Then why was that bag, a half hour into the game, still filled with equipment? How come the friend he gave it to hadn't changed into his gear and he's on the ice? It is absolutely staggering. And finally, this is a whopper. Doug Ford kicking me out of an event. Sheila, I honestly believe that this dummy is mistaking Doug Ford for Andrew Scheer. I'm sure he's referring to the Andrew Scheer event in Whitby in which the RCMP was called, and I was cuffed and roughed up and all that jazz. That's not Doug Ford. Yeah, they're both conservatives, allegedly, but Doug Ford is not Andrew Scheer. He can't get anything right, this guy. Over to you, Sheila.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing, though. I don't like to quote Judge Judy all the time, but she always says, you don't have to have a good memory if you're telling the truth. And that's why he can't remember the fine details of certain things. Like, he congratulated Doug Ford, which didn't do this, but if anybody had done it, a so-called conservative politician should not be congratulating any politician on violating the constitutional rights of a journalist.
Good point.
Yet he did. He's like, and I congratulate Doug Ford, who actually didn't do that, for kicking you out of an event. That's violating the free press in Canada. And if he wants to pretend to be a conservative, at least pretend to care about the things that conservatives care about, like rights and freedoms. That was something that would have been uttered by an NDPer any day of the week, at least here in Alberta.
And Sheila, if I may, on the Doug Ford issue, of all people to trumpet, Doug Ford is the guy that took his job. Patrick Brown in January 2018 was on the fast track that year to becoming the Premier of Ontario. Unfortunately, folks, he threw social conservatives under the bus and fiscal conservatives under the bus. And when there was no one else to throw under the bus, the PC party threw Patrick Brown under the bus. Thank God. And and that was one of the most surreal and embarrassing press conferences in the history of Canadian politics. When he was standing there alone, his staff abandoned him. Not even his communications person was there at Queen's Park on that frigid January night on those allegations of sexual improper conduct. And to see Patrick Brown there blubbering away like a baby. I've got sisters. I love women, right? And then doing that Cersei-like walk of shame down the back staircase into that salt-stained minivan driving out into the hinterland, And you would think he must be full of resentment for Doug Ford, the guy who is the Premier, the guy who took his job. And no, to get at us, to get at Rebel, he champions Doug Ford now? This is inexplicable, Sheila.
Well, it's just as inexplicable as when he called us Islamophobic. I mean, again, Raheel Raza works for us. She's the head of our advisory board. We have a Muslim woman in a very prominent position in the company, the head of the advisory board. I don't think an Islamophobic company would do that. Does he mean Zionist company, like a pro-Israel company? Is he confusing those two things? Which I suppose might speak to his own mindset. It's just so crazy that he just keeps making things up as he goes. I mean, you're already behind, buddy. There's no... Look, I'm very happy that he did engage you because it shows how crazy and just dumb he is. Like, it shows that. There's no clever editing involved. He's an idiot. But I'm glad he spoke to you, but he didn't have to. A smarter guy would have been like, do up the window, drive away. But he didn't do that. There was an easy way to escape from this latest fiasco. And he just was like, well, I've singled down, doubled down, why not triple down on this and make myself look like a complete and total idiot one more time, which he did. I can't even believe it. Does he have any communications advisors around him? Does he have anybody around him to say, Patrick, shut up? And
Sheila,
I guess not.
On that very point, you don't see it in the footage, but yes, we got there late because they got earlier ice time. And he did drive off. I got out of my car with the videographer. And inexplicably, the Mercedes brakes went on. They reversed back to a spot to talk to me. He couldn't resist doing his Dr. Evil moment of, aha, you dummies at Rebel News. I outsmarted you. We got the ice time an hour earlier. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, you really got us, Patrick Brown. Oh, my goodness. His hubris has no bounds. Sheila, Justin Terry, who is a heck of a hockey player himself, I believe, is telling you got to read some super chats here.
I do have super chats. And again, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for those super chats. Because if we do get to that People versus Predators video, this will be instantly demonetized by YouTube. PB Picks 360 gives us $5. Rebel News, #1. All Rebel News staff, #1. Thank you for pursuing the truth. Keep it up. Thank you for Real News. Oh, and thank you for the super chat. And we definitely will. Proud Boys Calgary. Been a bit, eh? This is my friend Justin from Calgary, not Justin from the office. Sheila, want to share my big news? Yes, I do. You're getting married. Congratulations. She said yes. You're going to make an honest woman out of her. Best Rebel News. Best Rebel News this month is the Calgary mural and People versus Predators. Shameless plug. Join Proud Boys. CCP must be destroyed. Yes. I love hearing about people getting married, starting families, and living a wholesome life. So good luck to you and your lovely bride, Justin. Vito Anthony D, $2. Anybody for some chocolate milk? Moo. A Great Informer gives us $2. Trudeau whitens his teeth with a yellow crayon. Kane Enmark, $2. can't wait for round 3 with Mr. Brown. Hopefully, no, I don't hope that. I was going to say hopefully in between now and then he hires a communications advisor with 2 brain cells to rub together. But for the sake of exposing Patrick Brown for who and what he really is, I hope he doesn't.
We'll be there next Wednesday, Sheila, maybe at midnight, so we don't miss whatever time he chooses for his weekly hockey game.
Yeah, when he said you're with Leafs TV. Why? Because you were wearing a Maple Leafs tracksuit? I have a Under Armour tracksuit. Does that mean that I'm with Under Armour, or is it just something I bought in a store? And your mic flash says Rebel News.
It's crazy. If I was impersonating Leafs TV reporter, who don't dress that way, by the way, and furthermore, why in blue blazes would Leafs TV want to interview a beer league hockey player / political loser like Patrick Brown? That has zero audience interest. Continue, Sheila.
Because he's an amazing mayor with a side business in ice inspection, apparently. Yeah. It's international news. This mayor is an ice inspector. He can really do it all.
Sheila, wouldn't it be great if I did sneak in and I just drove the Zamboni out on the ice with somebody with a mic? If there are any Brampton Zamboni drivers that want to switch positions next Wednesday, let me know. Anyway, sorry, Sheila, I'm dreaming right now.
I had a friend who actually owned a Zamboni. He lived on a lake, and he bought a Zamboni, and I was like, how much did that cost? I think it was $5,000. His wife was super mad because he parked it in the garage, and then she made him sell it.
You know what? Owning a Zamboni is almost as cool as one of the vehicles you used to own, Sheila, the Subaru Brat. But we won't go into auto talk right now. Continue on, my friend.
Okay. Eric Partanen gives us $10. 3 of us eating in Tim's today in Newmarket. After 1 hour, manager comes and assists on getting our name and phone number. We refuse. She kicks us out. The Ontario law is for them to ask, but I don't see how we have to give it. Yeah, you guys have that contact tracing when you go out to eat. I remember when we all went for dinner and I had to sit at the old people table and you sat at the fun people kids table. After the debate, they came and asked for everybody's name or just one person's name for their contact tracing. And I thought that was really weird. I don't know the rules about whether or not you have to give it, though. Maybe that's something for David to look into.
Who gave their number?
Was it Alex? I think maybe it was Alex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Poor Alex.
Kurt, although Alex has been known to fight the machine. He had a little run-in with, I think it was TTC staff.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it comes down to it, I think Alex will fight back if they want to use his information inappropriately. Kurt Koenig gives us $5 and says, my movie, Ron Glenn on YouTube. Okay, great. Read it for more. By the way, outstanding work with Brown. Yes, absolutely. Mike Seguin gives us $6.99. Take Brown to court for slander. Man, he makes me sick. Alberta Skies gives us $2. The new haircut looks great, David. Oh. Yeah, it's not startling me anymore. And it all fits into the frame now of the shot on the live stream.
As they used to say on those Grecian formula commercials, 2 minutes for looking so good, Richard.
Oh, God. March 8th gives us $2. Does Biden-Harris actually have a chance? I'm horrified that Kamala? How do you say her name? Kamala?
Biden doesn't know how.
Nobody knows how. Because I think she's invented the way that you say her name. Like those people who have perfectly normal spellings of names, but they insist that you say it another way to be different. I think that's what she's about. I'm not sure, but that's what I suspect. Just to be different and annoying. But I'm concerned that she's a heartbeat away from the presidency. That really scares me.
Well, whoever is vice president is the president within months. By the way, this just in, Sheila, hold that thought. Yankee has come into the control room. Yankee, did you want to come here and like guest host, or what do you think about that, Sheila? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Get him in there.
Put up the thumbs. Go ahead, Sheila.
Yankee gets nervous when his mom watches.
Okay.
I'm worried about Kamala Harris. She's a radical. I don't know why everybody is painting her as a moderate. She's completely crazy.
Yeah.
Especially as a supporter of the Green New Deal. As Canadians, we really should care about that, because that means no Keystone XL. That means no access to Tidewater through the United States to the Gulf of Mexico. We won't have that if she gets elected. She's bad news for Canada. And it's crazy because the Liberals seem to be supporting her.
And she's bad news for America, too. With her there's going to be no more American energy independence either, Sheila.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she's completely crazy. Vito Anthony D. Oh, we got Yankee coming in.
Oh, we do have Yankee coming in. Okay, Yankee. Okay, do you have a mic?
I don't.
Okay.
I do not have a mic.
Well, he's just wave and say hi, and then.
Oh, where am I?
Okay, there you go.
Hi.
All right, there you go. Okay. And aye, and goodbye to Yankee. Continue, Sheila.
Peace out, Yankee. Vito Anthony D gives us $2 and says she hate me. Who hates you?
I don't understand.
It's not me. I don't know, but it's not me.
What's the name
I think
again?
you're fine, Vito. Vito Anthony D.
No, I don't hate anyone by that name.
Nope. Sneaky Beaver gives us $10 Canadian and says, I had this brilliant thought in the shower about mandatory face covering. Can we have people to write stuff on their disposable masks as a silent protest against all this tyranny? Any ideas? I've seen people doing that. I've seen people with like stuff that says like, this mask doesn't work, or I'm wearing this because I have to. So I think there's a market out there for those kind of cheeky masks, especially as these mask mandates continue to roll out.
I'm not touching any super chat that has the words shower and beaver in the same sentence. Please continue.
Be another lecture.
Oh, no. I tried.
And a phone call. And a phone call to me after the live stream.
Oh,
okay.
no.
Here I have to say, I'm sorry. I fell down on the job. I know my job is to make sure that you don't say bad things. That's like 50% of my job here. Not just with you, though. I think with everybody. So don't take it personally. But yeah, we'll just make sure that I don't fall down on the job and owe somebody an apology too. Tiago gives us $5. David, thank you for standing up to those delinquents at Toronto City Hall. Oh. I'm glad my taxes are being put to use on those porta potties. Yeah.
Well, the viewer refers to, folks, the members of Afro-Indigenous Rising. They illegally occupied Toronto City Hall, Nathan Phillips Square, for 3 weeks. Then they moved on to Dufferin Grove Park, brought misery to that neighborhood, breaking, 11 sections of the Trespass Act. And we have a mayor in this city who bends the knee because, if that was a bunch of, guys wearing red MAGA hats, oh boy, would the paddy wagon be dispatched at work factor 9. But because these are people claiming to be Afro-Indigenous, by the way, majority of the people are whiter than Snow White. A lot of the people are drug addicts, are homeless, are mentally ill. They occupy some of the tents. The other tents are mostly empty. And the ringleaders, the Antifa types behind this, they raise money on a GoFundMe page. At last count, it was over $49,000. And they stay at the luxurious Sheraton hotel across the street from Nathan Phillips Square, where rooms start at $277 a night. So all these white liberal virtue signalers that are cutting checks and putting their visa on the GoFundMe page, thinking that this is bringing about racial harmony. No. It's you're funding a real-life version of Animal Farm. You know, all animals are equal, but some animals more equal than others. What a disgrace. Anyways, sorry to go off on that tangerine. Continue, Sheila.
I think we should get through these next few super chats and then maybe go to people versus predators, because we've talked about it a lot. Yeah. Okay, we've got a super chat from Ivan Popowski. Ivan gives us 500 Australian dollars.
Oh.
So Justin advises me that works out to be $475 Canadian.
Wow.
Ivan, thank you so much. That's so very generous.
You know what? We got to get back to Australia. We got to do stories there, Sheila, especially when
There's so much happening there, too.
Pardon me?
I said there's so much happening there, too.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So thank you so much. That is incredibly generous. And I didn't realize that the Australian dollar is so close to the Canadian dollar, but that's another thing. Go ahead, Sheila.
He asked, what's the record? I think what's the record for a super chat? You might be pretty close to it, Ivan. He said he's going to the max, like Mad Max from Sydney, Australia. Not loco, just a fan with bad intentions. Ha ha ha. You're both hot in the nicest way, but Ezra's cool. Ivan, thank you so much for your kindness. I appreciate that so much.
Ezra is the adult in the room, and Mad Max is one of my favorite. You know, when that came out in 1982, Sheila, here was the Australian film industry proving that with a fraction of a budget of a Hollywood production company, they could create one of the most incredible action-adventure movies for its time, which was The Road Warrior, of course. And, you know, that really made me want to get to the outback and, you know, do all those crazy Australian things. And I've never seen a platypus, and I'd love to see a platypus. Got to pronounce that properly. Okay. Go ahead, Sheila.
I do. I love Mad Max because I love the fact that that movie was made with the props that include like old hockey equipment, hot glue gun, chicken feathers, wrecked cars, and someone with a habit for welding. Like it's great. I mean, it's just great. It's an incredible movie about how important fossil fuels are.
Oh, and that's a great point, Sheila. When you think of it, this was not about a war to shut down the fossil fuel industry. It was a war of who controls the remaining fossil fuels, because that means you get to live and the others die.
Okay, I think now that we're caught up on that, and again, holy moly, thank you so much, Ivan. That's so very generous. I think I know I have a few more super chats, but I'll get to those after. Why don't we roll a clip from my People versus Predators video?
People versus Predators. What do you do and what's it all about?
So we are basically exposing predators to communities. We're being the voice for victims, and we are trying to assist and work with the judicial system to ensure that our communities are protected and safe.
Now, tell me about Wade Steen.
So Wade Steen kidnapped and assaulted a young girl that lived in his community. He was arrested and then shortly after released on bail back into the exact same community that he offended in, with the young girl living very close, within a block or two, as well as a school and a park that was about half a block away from his residence, and he lived on the corner, so all of the community children and neighbors would have to pass by to get to that park and school. And so when we found out about that, we decided to start petitioning to have his bail revoked. And that's when the protesting and everything started. He actually revoked his own bail prior to us getting the petition out. And we tore down the protest and went home. But then we found out a couple days later that the surety that he was living with was moving, and so we figured that he would be requesting bail again. once the surety was able to move to a new neighborhood and they would be able to stay comfortably. So we wanted to make sure that didn't happen, because we also were aware that the new neighborhood was directly across the street from a playground, a highly active playground, surrounded by, again, young families and communities, and again in close proximity to where he offended. So we started to put together a petition to have his bail denied should he request it again. And we collected signatures in the community he offended in, as well as the community he would be released back into, as well as some other people around Edmonton and surrounding communities signed the petition. And we submitted that to the Crown Prosecutor about a week before his court. He did request bail, and it was denied based on the grounds that we used in the petition, which were the tertiary grounds.
So explain the grounds that you're using to get these Crown prosecutors to acknowledge these community petitions that you're bringing together.
Primarily the grounds are going to be the secondary and the tertiary grounds. So the secondary grounds is the safety of the community, so the likelihood of them reoffending in that community. And then the tertiary grounds are based on the community's concern and that concern causing them to lose faith in the judicial system should the person remain in their community. The community support is what we need. Without the community support showing the Crown that there is valid community concern, these petitions don't go anywhere. So that's everything. The community's getting involved and showing their concern is what we need to do to get the Crown to revoke these and deny these bails, because they shouldn't be getting released back into these communities.
Now, these communities are often completely unaware that these offenders are living within them until you guys show up personally at the door to collect the signatures. What would you say, like, how many people are finding out for the first time from you that they have a sex offender a couple doors down?
Several. We have people go out generally a week or two before we start collecting signatures with posters, putting them up in the community to let them know that there is somebody within close proximity and that we will be within their community over the next couple of weeks collecting signatures, doing events, and spreading awareness. So a lot of people are extremely shocked to learn this. I don't think I've met a single person who already knew, unless they were the direct victim or directly linked to the victims.
Now, that's important.
You know, Sheila, excellent report, by the way. This is what really grinds my gears. It is the lack of transparency. Now, I understand you can get the postal code of where a sex offender might be in certain regions. I stand to be corrected on that, but that's useless information. That can be a huge swath of houses. I know in U.S. jurisdictions, you can actually get the actual address of a house where that offender lives. And I'll tell you something. You might recall my reports in Hamilton when Gordon Stuckless, that was that disgusting pedophile that was part of the pedophile Maple Leaf Gardens pedophile ring. When he was put into a Hamilton halfway house, I went into the neighborhood. There were schools nearby, there were playgrounds nearby, and I went up to passersby. Sometimes it was a mother with her child in a stroller, sometimes it was a senior citizen. I said, "Do you know who is living in this house?" And they were shocked. The Hamilton police didn't even tell the immediate residents in that neighborhood that this vile sex predator who is incurable. Thank goodness a couple months ago he passed away, so I guess God took care of what the justice system couldn't do. And Sheila, again, I'll throw this question out to you, especially after speaking with these people. Why the lack of transparency? Why do law-abiding citizens who have children have to live in fear of these predators that they don't even know are in the neighborhood?
I think maybe the concern is they're like the legal system's worried about vigilantism, because these are truly the worst among us, people who offend against children. So they're concerned about that. But there's also the privacy of the offender. And a lot of the privacy of the offender. And a lot of these guys are out on bail awaiting trial. So they haven't been convicted. They're, I guess, still considered innocent within the legal system. But none of that should negate the concerns of the community. That's what Sherry and her friends there are trying to do. They're trying to engage the community concerns, because that's a ground for bail revocation, is that the community says, you're putting a dangerous person here and we don't want it and we're entitled to a say. And so the way that she can communicate the concerns is by personally going door to door in the community. And that's why her petitions aren't huge. They're not like rebel petitions. Sometimes they're 400 people. So, the people in the immediate vicinity, or in the instance of one that happened close to where I live in Fort Saskatchewan, that one made it up to, I think, 1,100, maybe 1,200 signatures on it. But they physically go door to door and collect every single one of those, because they need to prove to the Crown this is a person who lives in the community. They signed this personally. This is their information. And they present that to the Crown, and then the Crown presents that to the judge at a bail hearing, and then bail gets revoked. Now, that's been working in Edmonton. In Fort Saskatchewan, where I guess I would have to go to get groceries, I don't live quite in Fort Saskatchewan, there's a person named Damien Starrett, maybe, I think is how you say his name. He's an accused child killer. He is accused of murdering his 1-year-old son and I think assaulting his 5 or 4-year-old daughter. He's out on bail in the community as he awaits trial. And because of the coronavirus, it's easier than ever for these guys to get out for their safety. And again, the safety of the community is not taken into account. When a child dies in a small community, it affects the entire community. So, even if you don't know the child or know the family directly, it could be a kid in the school system where your kids go to school. It affects everybody, and these communities are entitled to a say. Anyway, with Damien Starrett, they took their petition to the Crown prosecutor, and the Crown wouldn't even look at it. And Sherry said, well, just please look at it. I want to give this to you. This is what's been working in Edmonton. We're getting these guys put back in jail in Edmonton, where they belong until such time as they're deemed to be not guilty or guilty. Crown wouldn't even look at it. Didn't even consider it. Said, what am I supposed to do with this?
Sheila.
And so I hope shining a light on the work that they're doing and saying that, this is working in other places, that maybe some of these Crowns would reconsider.
But, I want to look at the big overall picture here. We know if you're a pedophile, that is incurable. And you mentioned earlier one of the reasons they don't want to give out the house address. There might be a group of vigilantes that go by and do street justice, so they don't want to be complicit with that kind of justice. What if we looked at this from an uber leftist point of view, having sympathy for the offender? And by that I mean that imagine being a mature adult, Sheila, and you are somehow sexually attracted to children. I think that's a curse. I can't even think of that. It is beyond reality to have such a desire. And we know it's incurable. So for the safety and protection of the pedophile, why don't we confine them in a cell for their protection and our children's protection? I think that's win-win. This idea of putting them into halfway houses, letting them out on bail, crossing our fingers that they'll somehow overcome an incurable condition, that is a shameful element of the Justice Society that is putting innocent people and their children at risk. What do you think about that?
These people are ticking time bombs. Yeah. And when they do get caught, I think the numbers are astronomical. I think it's somewhere in close to 100, where that the number of victims these people will have before they're caught. We hear about the cases that go to trial. We never hear about the silent victims that are never come forward or never prosecuted. I know one of the people who they had sent back to jail, he's accused of kidnapping and sexually assaulting a little girl, and he was granted bail. Just think about this for a second, what's going on right now in the world. Canadians are under house arrest because of the coronavirus, And these people are being granted freedom when they have done things, unspeakable things, to the most vulnerable around us. It was my pleasure. It was a terrible thing to have to listen to the stories, but it is my pleasure to shine a light on the good work that Sherry and her friends are doing. And I just want to point out, Sherry was sitting at her kitchen table inside her house. I didn't want to show the outside of the house. I didn't want to show the neighborhood that they're in, because Sherry tells me that the pedophiles are now talking amongst themselves.
Come on.
And they want to know, where Sherry lives. They want to sort of flip the switch on her and intimidate people versus predators. Luckily for Sherry, her fiance is a Canadian Forces veteran, and her other friend there sitting at the table, he actually helped pull down the rail blockade west of Edmonton, so I do owe him a case of beer. But it's funny how these good people just find each other out there in the world and continue to do good work. So,
Sheila,
at a time when we really need it.
I'm just trying to process what you just said. The pedophile community that I guess chatter online with one another, they're coming up to have an idea of their form of vigilante justice against this woman. The world is upside down. I can't believe this. Well, why isn't law enforcement investigating that garbage?
I don't know if they are or they aren't, but I mean, these people are not. I mean, they are truly the worst of the worst. So would a person who molested a child go after Sherry and her family? Definitely. I think definitely. It's a concern that I have for her. But going forward, I'm definitely going to shine a light on the work that they're doing, that nobody else is doing. They're giving a voice to the community. They're standing up for victims. They're plucking these predators out of communities. So, it's truly the Lord's work.
Good
and I despise the way they're treated in the media. They're being considered vigilantes. They're anything but. They're just using the legal system to do the job.
Well, any media party member treating them like that, you're even more disgusting than I originally thought you to be. Sheila, we're almost out of time. We've got some more super chats in, so we're going to go into overtime. And by the way, this just in, Crocodile Dundee, or whatever the name of that friend of ours in Australia was, crikey, matey, that's a record, 500 Australian dollars. That is a super chat record. The Menzoid challenge is break it.
That's a lot of shrimp on the Barbie, isn't it? Okay.
And Foster's, matey. Oh, I can't do an Australian accent. Just read the super chat.
I cannot encourage you. Yeah, we're way over time. Jack Browser gives us $13.99. Cannon Hinnant. Say his name. Cannon Hinnant. Yeah, Cannon Hinnant was a little boy killed recently. Wow. And there's been absolutely no media coverage of what's happened to him. Craig McDonald, $6.99. Hi, Craig. Thoughts on Alberta Bill 24 regarding AHS sharing personal health information with police until 2020. P.S. Sheila, I've got a COVID baby coming in January. Congratulations. It's funny. There's a lot of people born in my family and my husband's family that are like 9 months away from April 1st. So like when spring breakup happens in the oil patch, like when everybody comes home from working in the oil patch, there's a lot of babies that are born 9 months later. So I guess there's going to be COVID babies too. I did not download, as I'm sure you would likely guess, I didn't download the tracker app that the government put out. The less these people know about me, the better, I guess. Lisa Proust gives us $5. David and Sheila, thank you for caring for the kids. David, you've never had a more painful look. God bless you both. I'm just telling the story. Sherry and her friends are doing all the hard work, and I sat through once a child groping case for over 2 weeks, and it was difficult to hear, and it was not even close to as terrible as what Sherry is privy to, speaking to these victims.
They're heroes.
Yeah. David Grant, holy moly, gives us $200.
Wow.
Good work, guys. Thank you, David. I'm sorry. I said David, but it's D Grant. D Grant. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, just showing that clip from People versus Predators demonetized this video, very likely. So we appreciate that a lot. Fiona Anna gives us $10 Canadian, says she's our #1 fan. Fiona, I'll take your word for it. And I think we're all caught up, I think. That's it.
Well, there you go, folks. It was another wild ride with Sheila, the She-Devil, Gunn, Reid, and myself, David Menzies. My thanks to Justin and young Deborah Harry in the control room. And what can I say? Unlike what I said off the top of the show, it is not Tuesday. It is one more super chat just came in.
Yes. Okay, I see it. It's from The Great Awakening, gives us $10. You know who does a good job of exposing elite pedophiles? QAnon. Twitter deleted thousands of QAnon supporters, but leaves pedos alone. #SaveTheChildren. And I think that's it.
Okay, then. Well, folks, what else can I say? It is not Tuesday, as I said off the top of the show. It is, thank God, it's TGIF. I think that's redundant. I want everybody to have a wonderful weekend, and Sheila and I will see you at 12 noon on Tuesday. Stay safe and have a good weekend. Take care.